Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks a lot for joining in. So, today we'll be having a discussion on what after engineering. So, we all know there are n number of paths that one can take after engineering. So, the most common ones are going for MBA or going for masters or taking up placements. So, a lot of us are confused between what to take from among these options. Okay. So, for the same reason, we'll be having a discussion with our panelists who are our super talented alumni from SVIT. So, we'll be taking insights about their journey and, the do's and don'ts of the same. So on the panel we have Urvi Bhanushali. She has interned and is working at Morgan Stanley. She is also a winner of Smart India Hackathon, worked as a web application UX designer. Then we have Shubham Sahu. So Shubham Sahu is pursuing masters in CS from Stony Brook University. He was also an associate software engineer at Glider.ai. Then we have Prakhar Maheshwari. So he is an MBA graduate from the Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode. He is currently working as an ad sales partner at Udan, and he has also worked with Lenovo India and has come up with solutions to improve in-store shopping experience. Right. So thank you all. Thank you Urvi, Shubham, and Prakhar for joining us, and I'm really looking forward to insightful session.
Yeah, thank you, Shreya, for the great introduction. So I'll start with the questions then. तो पहला क्वेश्चन जो सबसे ऑब्वियस होता है मतलब हर वेबिनार का पहला क्वेश्चन होता है कि व्हाई डिड यू और मोर एक्यूरेटली इफ आई पुट इट कि व्हाट मेड यू चूज द फील्ड दैट यू गाइस आर करेंटली इन मतलब जैसे हम लोग को पता है कि आफ्टर इंजीनियरिंग तीन मेजर फील्ड होती है चीफ फील्ड होती है या तो तुम जॉब करो या यू गो फॉर एन एमबीए और यू टेक अप एमएस और यू गो फॉर एन एमएस सो हाउ डिड यू गाइस चूज कि यही करना है हमको आगे जाके सो आई थिंक वी कैन स्टार्ट विद उर्वी फर्स्ट
Okay, hi everyone. For why did I take a job first before going for MS or MBA? The main reason is that during my college years, I explored a lot. I did some finance courses, but I also loved technology. But the kind of technology that we built during college years, it's either like competitive programming or even if the tech stack that we built, it's very it's minimal compared to when you go to big firms and build for them. It all in big firms you have other peripherals like DevOps, and you don't know those kinds of stuff. So me personally, I wanted to figure out what I like more. Do I like finance more or do I like tech more? And when I say I like tech, I should be loving all parts of it, not just the development of it. So the job gives you more clarity for that, and which is why I chose it.
great okay Shubham you can go with yours.
Okay, so typically for my master's, so from initially, like before starting my engineering, so initially I planned to do further studies, but after going to the engineering, like you all must be, do we know like what's the distribution currently? Like, are most of you first years?
Yeah, we are from first years and second years here. Most
Okay,
of the
mostly from first
population.
and second years,
Yeah.
yeah. So after the college has started, you must be knowing like how assignments and everything goes. So after that, yeah, I can understand it from your face, Mansi.
Yeah.
Yes, after that, like you start to have a gradual decline regarding this. So, and the same thing, masters here would not be, so the final thing that we get from our education, like at least for engineering, is placements. And the same for masters in India is the same thing, placements again. So that's why I chose to do masters abroad. Mostly the return on investment for the same thing.
Okay, that's great. And then Prakhar?
Yeah, hey, hi everyone. It's really great to be here, first of all. So, so the way I would put it, as in why I chose MBA over other streams, it's a combination of, I would say, elimination and selection. So, as rightly pointed out, there are like three major fields which one can really go into, right? One is either placements, MBA, or one can just do an MS. So, when I joined engineering, I had, to be honest, from the first year itself, some inclination towards MBA primarily for two reasons. One is I come from a business background. My father is a first generation entrepreneur, so I've really seen him really grow his business. So I understand how business essentially works. So I had an inclination there itself. Second bit is I could so I have an elder sister, so she essentially cleared CAT. She's from SPIT as well, from Com Science. So she cleared CAT, got a 99.5 percentile, and then went to IIM Lucknow. So the proof of concept was already there that even though we are not really from an IIT, we can get into the best B schools of the country. And so there was some inclination from there itself. Post that second year, in second year, then we start. So I'm not an IT engineer, by the way. I'm from electronics and telecommunication. Just one heads up. So electronics and telecommunication, we have multiple subjects, right? A, D, etc. So while working, doing those practicals, working on those breadboards and voltmeters, I realized, भाई ये तो life में नहीं करना है. मतलब कुछ और तो कर लेंगे, but definitely not this. So that option of MS and GATE just went out of the window there itself. And then I felt that if I'm able to do an MBA with my inclination towards business and how things are getting built, how brands are getting built, I felt it was the most logical choice to do. And yeah, that was a deciding factor essentially.
Okay, great.
So I agree with Prakhar. Like most of our life choices that we make is based on eliminations of the things that we don't want.
Correct, exactly.
Yeah. So that's what I try to explore as much as possible.
Yep.
Okay, right. That was great. So, Acha, so next question, like, is there a right way through these 4 years? Like, कुछ ऐसा special approach या, some methodology which a person needs to follow during these 4 years to, have a successful career? So, we can start with Prakhar.
So, as such, for right, as in the method, I would say how one really needs to go about. There is no ideal way per se, right? It can differ from person to person. But what I would definitely say is that by the end of your second year, you should have a fair bit of understanding that what you need to do in terms of post engineering, right? If your inclination is towards more on the technology side, where you see that probably you're curious about it, right? You just want to know more and more about how technology works or how signals work or how a platform or a product is being built, and then definitely probably you should go for an MS, right? And why I say by the end of second year, because by the start of third year you should start your preparation, is how I would put it. Because you need to do your GRE classes, you need to improve on your English, you need to improve on your maths, and this is a very good time if I'm just looking at third year per se, right? Because fourth year may, if you get a placement, then probably you'll just not focus on your higher education. And post work, of course, it's good. And post engineering, during work, studying is going to be very difficult because you are right now in a particular flow as far as studying is concerned, right? If you work 9 o'clock in the morning to 8 o'clock in the evening, post that you would not really want to study. So therefore, third year of engineering becomes the best time, and hence by the end of second year, you should have a fair bit of understanding that what you need to do. So that I feel is very important, right? And the second bit is, again, I think with respect to MS, uh, so a lot of my EXTC friends have gone abroad to US, UK, Germany, etc. And I think one very big factor, even though they did not really like technology, one very big factor for them was whether India mein rehna hai ki nahi rehna hai. I'm not sure whether it's there in people's thoughts, but this was a very big factor as far as I know. Even though they did not really enjoy EXTC, they hated it, like I not hate, just disliked it, but that was a factor. So that is also, I think something which you need to understand eventually, that whether you see yourself in this country or not, whether, or you just want to individualistically pursue what, just go leave India and just do something abroad, right? Because that is also important. So there's no ideal way or an ideal thought, but I think these two choices or questions are something which you definitely need to answer by the end of second year, so that you start acting come the start of the fifth semester.
Yeah, totally. I agree. So, Shobham, Shobham and Urvi, do you guys have something to add on?
Yeah, similar to it. Like there is no specific way to do spend all the 4 years, but this is actually a time where you can explore a lot of stuff. So let's say, so during my second year, I had a slight inclination towards finance because everyone in my family is in the commerce background. So at that time, I was the marketing executive for our college. So initially, I used to think like, okay, marketing seems to be a comparatively easier task than being in the tech. You must be seeing like some of your colleagues or someone like people in tech like working from 9 to 5 or something like specific times, and you might be feeling like, oh, the person in the marketing or some other field has a comparatively easier task. So this is a right time to explore as much as you can. So I'm not only talking like ask others, ask your seniors or people who are currently working in the field that you think you'll be pursuing in the future. So I would only say explore as much as possible as early as you can. And yeah, Parkar told it right. Like have at least an abstract idea. Like where do you see yourselves like 4 years in the future? Like what is your goal after completing your undergraduate? So suppose you have to do like MBA or masters for that purpose. So even in the second year, if you know like okay for masters or MBA, CGPA seems to be a crucial thing. Like for most of the jobs that come, at least for the placements for SPIT, so the companies usually only have a threshold, something like above 9 pointer, above 8 pointer. So there is only a threshold is there. But if you want to apply for masters, like MS or MBA for that matter, in that case CGPA matters. So you know at least like that what should be my focus. Yeah.
Right. So, Urvi?
Yeah, I'd agree with like Shubham and Prakhar that you need to explore as much as you can during these years. I am like a 2019-20 batch pass out. So we had this privilege of going through scope courses that college had provided. And they gave a better clarity because there were finance courses along with tech courses. So you should like if you have inclination towards something, you can enroll at least for first two courses among the line of them and see if you really like them or not. That is a good option. As Shubham mentioned, I would say that people say CGPA is not that important, but like later on, you realize that you know what it is important at least for MS and MBA. So if you want to keep those doors open, you should focus on your CGPA as well. For jobs, as Shubham mentioned, it's just a threshold above 8, which is cool. But if you want to pursue higher studies, then you should really focus on that as well. That's it.
Okay. Yeah, agree. So coming to the next question. So Prakhar, this question will be for you. What are the career paths and opportunities in the MBA domain? Like after you complete your MBA, so I'm assuming, I think I don't know a lot about the field, but you can't come back to the tech domain again. Like after MBA, अगर कुछ tech related job भी मिला तो possible नहीं है ना करना. You can just go in the MBA का field ही उसके आगे जो भी placement मिलता होगा IMC वगैरह. So what are the other opportunities that you can
Correct. So this would be a slightly elaborate answer, so just bear with me. So essentially, when you're talking about MBA, right, and what are the career options which one can take, it's just a basic understanding of suppose there is a business, right? What does a business require? It requires someone who's into product management, someone who's into sales and marketing, someone probably into consulting. Finance is definitely something which is required. Supply chain is definitely something which is required. And internally, HR is something which is required, right? These are the, I would say, the basic backbones. And post MBA, this is what people generally pursue. So I'll just quickly go one by one as to what is required for each of them. So if I have to look into sales and marketing, right, something which I am into, it does not really require any past work experience per se, right? It's something which is very general. It does not require you to be very good at some particular thing apart from just basic storytelling, and if you are able to present your ideas well. So that is sales and marketing. And you need to have a general inclination as to how brands are built, right? You need to have this curiosities that suppose Apple launches its new iPhone, why are there people outside the store? Why is it, what is the particular reason? If given an option between a Nike shoe and a Puma shoe, why would people prefer a Nike shoe over a Puma shoe, right? Technically, there's practically no difference between the two shoes, but that understanding of why people prefer Nike or an Apple over rest of the products, so that curiosity needs to be there. Second, how I would put it is in regarding finance. So I see a lot of people post MBA take finance, and especially engineers. So I'll see what is required, particularly for finances. You need to have a very good understanding of numbers, right? And you need to have a general curiosity towards how the world of money really works, is how I would put it. And essentially, if you want to succeed in a career in finance, what's required is an MBA won't be sufficient if you are an engineer. you would also require your CFA degrees. So you need to do your CFA level 1, level 2, level 3. You can't do it right now in engineering, but post engineering, if you're working or if you're really doing an MBA, you need to start parallelly studying for that as well. So multiple friends of mine are CFA L2s and L3s, and that is something which is very important if one really needs to make a career in finance. Now, coming back to your original question as to people going back to tech, multiple people go back to tech. So, how it happens is that post MBA, there are also roles in product management and IT consulting, for example. IT consulting is slightly more different in terms of product when compared to product management. But product management is something which requires past tech experience. So if anyone really wants to make a career in product management, then they need to have 2 years or 3 years of experience post engineering, and then then they can get into a product management role, right? Because now you have multiple companies which are tech companies. If you are if you are an engineer and if you know coding, for example, or have a general understanding of how really coding works, have experience of 2 3 years, then product management is the ideal role. We have people from my B school just going to the likes of Amazon, Flipkart, Odan, right, Uber, Ola, because tech is essentially what is driving the world right now. So yes, people do go back to tech. And finally, coming back to consulting के लिए I would say, if you really want to have a career in consulting, first thing, just see your 10th and 12th grades. अगर वो 90 के ऊपर नहीं है, so just kind of ditch consulting, because probably you won't really get into with your MBBs, which is your McKinsey, Bain, BCG. Uh, if so, if you do really have the grades and if you are maintaining a CGPA, if I would say above 9, then start building a profile with respect to consulting in terms of doing your additional courses, doing as many internships as possible, so this is one bit where I think my batch really differs from yours, because we didn't really have any opportunities for internship during SPIT. So I'm from the 12-16 batch, 2000. I graduated in 2016. Our exams used to stretch really long for like 1.5 months. We used to just have like 3 weeks between semesters. So we didn't really do an internship, but you guys have the opportunity to do like 2 3 internships. So I would say do as many internships as possible, and don't do unpaid internships, because that is just pure slavery. वो तो मत करना. So do your internships from good firms if possible, and try to understand what really works out best for you. And then accordingly, if you are interested in an MBA, you can just align with all of these multiple business fields which I've just talked about, and just see where your inclination is, and then accordingly try to build a career out of it.
Okay. Yeah. Got it. Shreya?
Yeah. So, okay, moving on to the next question. So why should we do master? Like, what do you guys think? Masters without prior experience, or should we go for a job before going for masters? So, Shubha.
Uh, yes, yes. So actually, for this, like, uh, anything would do actually for this. Like, so as of now, where I'm studying, and in fact, most of the people who apply for masters typically have a experience of 2 or 3 years. So specifically for me, it was like I joined immediately, mainly for two reasons. So first, as Prakhar mentioned initially, once your job starts, you're not able to get back to your studies again. And once you start earning, you'll be spending a few years where you won't be earning. So you won't be realizing it now, but once you start to earn, you will realize this difference. Like it's very difficult to switch back. And second reason was the opportunity cost. So instead of working here for that time period, I would be studying here. So there is this opportunity cost associated with the corresponding 2 years. So these two are the main reasons. But yeah, many people do their masters after 2 or 3 experience. In fact, for some of the universities, they actually do prefer candidates who have prior experience, typically 2 or 3. And depending on the experience that you're having, the job roles that you'll be searching for would differ as well. So as of now, like I have joined here, I'll be applying for SD1 roles here. As I'm a computer engineer, so and I'll be applying as a software engineer. The level that we're applying to will be SD1, and the people who will be coming after 2 or 3 years experience would be applying SD2 roles here typically. this can vary a lot, and correspondingly the time that you have to devote for that would also differ. But yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So coming to you, Uli, since you said that you had an inclination towards finance as well, and then tech also, but you chose tech over finance. So why didn't you ever think of going for an MS? मतलब अपनी ही field में MS करके, like why did you not have? मतलब what was the effective thing that you thought of कि MS नहीं करना? Yeah.
So like I had this 6 months internship I had with Morgan Stanley, which is a fintech company. So वहाँ like थोड़ा background knowledge मिला regarding finance, specifically regarding trading because I was in that department. I kind of liked it, and I also liked tech, as I earlier mentioned. But during the internship, then I realized that you know what, I'm loving tech more than finance. And then, as Prakhar mentioned, we also need to do CFA in case we want to go in finance and MBA. So I tried for CFA, like didn't attempt, but I tried studying for it, and it was really boring for me after some point. So then I decided I want to go with tech. As for why you should choose MS before experience or after, one other reason is that if your profile isn't that good during your 4 years and you need to go to good college, then in that case, experience would help you. So then you need to get 2 to 3 years of experience. But if you have like a really exceptional profile right now within the 4 years itself, like you have an exceptional CGPA, you have some internship experiences, you have published a paper in international journal, those kinds of stuff really help like show your profile, and your selection would be faster in that cases. And when I say about experience, it should be a relevant experience, because you can't go for tech and have experience in marketing or in finance. You need to have experience in tech for that. And I think same applies to MBA also. Like if you are joining if you're going for finance or consulting roles, and you need experience in that domain. Otherwise, it's not relevant and they don't matter. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Agreed with you. Um. Okay. So yeah, Shreya, you can continue. Sorry.
Yeah, and I think like Prakhar would be able to mention both. So regarding the admission process, right, for MBA at least. So I mean, I'm not sure exactly this is the case or not, but do they have like point system, right? Like if you have 1 year or 2 experience, the highest points is for 2 years experience.
Correct. So, actually, every B school has it differently. So, for example, if I'm just taking my case, right? So I got a percentile of 99.23 in CAT. Now, for me, the options were A, B, C, L, K, I, XLRI, right? So that I didn't really do well. It was just CAT which I did well. A I didn't get through because A, of course, has if so. I'm a GEM, what we call it as GEM, which is basically General Engineer Male. Okay, so how it happens essentially is that every B school gives points if you are, of course, from the non-engineering streams, which is basically your commerce, arts, etc. So there are additional points for that. If you are a female, then there are additional points for that. So essentially, if you are an engineering female, then even a percentile of probably 99 would do if you want to get into IIM Ahmedabad. Just for an interview call is how I would put it. If you are not even an engineer and a female, then even a percentile of 97.5 would do. This is just purely talking in terms of freshers. But if you are someone like me, then a percentile of more than 99.6 is required just to even get a call. So every college has it separately. And of course, Ahmedabad gives certain weightage to work as well. And Bangalore, on the other hand, gives a lot of weightage to work experience. So they are more of a consulting B school. So for them, they give weightage to like 2-3 years of experience is something which is required. IIM Calcutta is purely just pure CAT exam score, right? If your score is more than 99.5, then you'll get a call from IIM Calcutta. And that is a finance B school, IIM Calcutta. Although, of course, placements for rest of the streams are also great. Then you get back to IIM Lucknow. IIM Lucknow again is heavy on work experience and also your female and etc. So that is different. For my case, IIM Kozhikode, there is a fair bit mix. So like they take 20% as your engineering score, your 20% of your 10, 10, 12 score, as in it needs to cross a certain threshold. Then 50% the CAT score, and the rest of it is work experience, etc. So every B school has it differently, but at the same time, it also depends, I would say, on what you're inclined towards. If you want to go for a consulting role, for example, or a product management role, then of course you need to have the work experience of 2 to 3 years. Otherwise, no one would bat an eye towards you. But if you are someone who's inclined towards sales and marketing, then work experience is not something which is really required. So yeah, as rightly pointed out by Shubham, there is a weightage to every component per se, and this component varies from B school to B school.
Yeah, correct. Okay, so Shubham, coming to you. So एक ऐसा इंडियन एंड हाँ आई बेटर से कि एक इंडियन पर्सपेक्टिव होता है या हम लोग कि मतलब अगर एमएस करना है तो बहुत पैसा लगेगा एमएस करना है तो मतलब हाँ मतलब बेसिकली पैसा लगेगा सो कैन यू जस्ट गिव अस अ जिस्ट ऑफ कि ये पैसा लगने वाला सीन क्या है मतलब ये कैसे हाउ कैन वी सॉर्ट इट और इफ वी मैनेज आवर फाइनेंसेस वेल मे बी तो ये पूरा प्रोसेस कैन यू जस्ट गिव अस एन ओवरव्यू ऑफ दैट
Okay, so this is actually very country specific, university specific question. But yeah, so in general, like masters is a expensive thing. So similar to MBA, like MBA, I think like most universities have around, I think 18, 20 lakh, I guess, 20 lakh around. Yeah, so for masters in MSc and CS at least, so it varies a lot. So it could be, I'll tell you a case. Like one of my friend got into Virginia Tech. She has got a scholarship, so her tuition wave is actually nothing. Throughout the time that she'll be studying here, she'll be earning as she's already got a RA position here. So during the 2 years of master that she'll be studying here, she'll be actually earning. And there are cases like some of the colleges, like expensive colleges, like I'd say USC is one of the case. So the fee, the actual cost of education would can go up to I'd say 90 lakhs. So there's a like yeah, so there is a big variation. There is no standard answer for this, and again country to country this will also differ. But yeah, finances are is a major component that you have to see,
so
and not
okay
only.
so
Mhm.
yeah
Yeah, so most of the people do go for counseling for the same thing. So mainly it is during the visa process that this finance actually matter, other than the tuition fee. Like before going to college also you have to do certain processes that has to be completed, right? So during that process also this plays a major part. So suppose I think colleges in Germany do require to you to have a locked account. I'm not sure what's the term exactly, but you need to show a specific amount of money shown in your bank account, and this will vary from college to college. So I think one of my friends, like one of my class, oh yeah, one of my friends got into Germany college, a college in Germany, and they had to to keep some 10 lakh of amount as a locked amount. So this amount will only be used for education purpose, nothing else. Again, for the case of US, we don't have to. There is no lock account as such, but during the visa interviews, they expect like, are you or are you not able to finance your education? Like, so suppose I'm coming from India to US, so they only try to see two things first. First, whether I'm a potential immigrant. So they don't want any immigrants to come here and steal their jobs. So this is one of the things that they try to ask and get to know during the interview. And the second thing is like, are you able to finance education? So this again goes back to the migration question only. So the thing like if a person is not able to finance himself during the education time, during the 2 years or whatever the period of education is, he will try to work in the US at a cheaper cost and again try to steal their jobs. The finance does play a major role, but I cannot say a specific amount as such because this varies from university to university, college to college.
okay so like adding on to the question so how did you decide that which university you wanted to get into obviously there might be a marks का category की उस हिसाब
Hmm.
से यूनिवर्सिटी मिलती है but then how did you choose कि मुझे इनमें से किसी में जाना है ये वाला चीज
Okay, so yes, so it does require a lot of research work to do. So first would be, I'd say like first try to narrow it down to the country that you wish to go. So typically there are for every domain there are specific countries which are trending during that time at least. So as of now, so suppose I think for systems a lot of things. In fact, for most of the CS courses, Canada, US are some of the some of the universities which are pretty good, or some other domain, some other country will be the case. So first would be narrowing down to the country that you want to go. Next would be if not all, but a few of the people might be able to narrow down the domain as well. So suppose if you want to get into networking, there are specific universities that have specialization in it. Then there are specific universities which, so as of now, I'm studying in Stony Brook. So it is well known for systems courses. So depending on the domain that you want to work into, you can shortlist the universities. And so like first would be narrowing down to the country, and a lot of factors do play here. So it could be finance, like the cost of education. So depending on the university, the cost will vary. I told you, right? Like one of my friends would be earning during the time she'll be doing a master's, and at the same time, few of the people would be spending almost like 90 lakh 1 crore rupee on the same thing. So finance does play a major role in this. I mean, there's no point if you're like spending so much money and you're not able to recover it. So yeah, finance is one thing. The domain that you want to work into is another thing. And next is maybe locality. So there are some pretty good universities, but you might think like they are not suitable for jobs that you want to apply to. So one of my friend, she was into, she was from EXTC, and she had two colleges at her time. So one was in the East Coast in New York, and another was close to the West Coast in Arizona. So since job is more, so the domain that she works in has more jobs in the West Coast, she preferred the university there. Most is also, yeah. So the locality, type of locality you live in. So there are a lot of factors to play into. Like these are the major factors that I've told. But like once you start to research, you'll get to know everything. And there are also a few websites like CS ranking, US News. So don't go just by the rankings, but do consider it to know like where does this university stand. If nothing, you can also like see the alumni, or you can see where other alumni are of a SPIT or some other college for that matter. So you can just talk to them, just reach out on LinkedIn or somewhere to get to know like what this university has specifically, what are the peculiar things about this university, should I be considering something before going there. So I'd say like reach out to people, as many people as you can, so that would
Okay.
give a better idea.
Okay, Urvi, coming to you. So, is there an ideal way to ask for referrals? Like, since we're sitting for a job, I mean, yeah, this is basically the only question. So, is there like, how did you do that if you did it, or in your experience, how could you do that?
To be honest, I haven't yet asked for a referral. So, yeah.
Okay, so like your friends, maybe. I mean, if you have any kind of experience or any kind of, if you know somebody who have done that, anything related to it.
Um, for referral, I think most companies have their own policies. They just provide, so they just have a profile, job profile given, and you just have to network if you want to pass your referrals to other people. So find on LinkedIn, first research which companies you want your referrals to go through, then find out which alumni of yours are working in those companies, reach out to them, and there are profiles, most of them ask for 2 years of experience and more. So for grads it's very hard to get through a referral, they need experience. For grads I think campus placement is the best. Otherwise the placements at Amazon or those companies take off campus, they also work really well, but for referrals I think experience is needed. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so moving on to the next question. So I am sure we have EXCC and electronics के people in the crowd. So elaborate on the opportunities for EXCC and electronics people in the IT sector. Like, even for masters, how difficult is it for, EXCC and electronics people to get it, to go for masters in CS? So could you guys elaborate on that? Shubham?
Okay, yeah. So for people to actually change their domain a lot, and uh, so as of now where I'm studying, so the course is MS in CS, but there are a lot of people from various backgrounds. So some are from EXTC, some are from mechanical, some are from chemical as well. So at that time, so I think most of them I think have changed of work experience. So they studied in whatever engineering field they had, but after that they worked in a different domain. So the main thing is, how are you able to justify the same thing? So if you're say applying, suppose a person has to apply in masters in computer science after any XYZ branch that he has worked into. So he must be having some relevant experiences. So there must be something to showcase, right? Which would show that okay, so once a person has done this thing, which tells the person that okay, he or she has the potential to do so. So yeah, so the main thing would be justifying what is the change. Like for every how would I say this? For everything, you have to justify exactly why you did this. So it could be like certain projects that you did, which showed your interest into this field. You must have some experience. So while working in some XYZ company, you must be having some experience which tried to change your domain. Even in fact, after immediately after your engineering, in fact during the engineering. So I had people from EXTC who had applied to MS in CS for networking or different domains. So they had some relevant project experiences. So they worked on some, say, they worked under some faculty for some research purpose. So I just told you that the justification is needed if you want to change your field.
So also, Purvi, so could you like tell us what opportunities are there in the IT sector, for electronics and EXEC fields?
Yeah, so a friend of mine who's from an EXCC background landed with a really great job this year. And what he personally did was that he went into competitive programming during the college years, and that's important because if you don't clear the first round itself, even if you're great with development or you're great with speaking, public speaking, but still you won't get to that round. So then competitive programming for EXTC people, I would say, if you have an inclination towards tech, start with that and then take on projects that have some parts of tech in it. I think in AXCC there is this, most of the people within third year or fourth year apply for this competition wherein you have to uh, develop an application or something. So when that opportunity comes, partner with people who are from different department like IT or comms and work on projects with them so that you also get that under your hood. You get that experience also working with them. And yeah, competitive programming, I'd say a little of application development is needed. And then it won't matter like if you're from IT or comms, as long as you can, clear those rounds. It's just that. But it'll be hard for EXCC because you have to also focus on your curriculum, which is not tech.
Okay, so I think Ravi was mentioning the Texas Instrument Challenge, like which is organized every year. Yeah, so mostly third year people do join it, and I think they are among the semi-finalists, quarter-finalists, and finalists.
Oh,
And
right.
Prakhar, so MBA में आने के लिए तो there's no whichever field you belong to, it doesn't matter, right? Because everybody has to eventually do business accounts and finance and stuff. So it wouldn't matter if you're from an HTC or an IT background, right? Or
Not really. So, how I would put it is that few companies do look into it. So, for example, we had Pidilite, right? They are Fevicol, etc. So they are the market leaders, of course, in that field. So Pidilite, essentially, when they want to shortlist, they look into those engineers who have done their expertise or bachelors in the core fields, which are basically your mechanical, chemical, metallurgy, etc. They will never look into people like me or someone who's into IT or computer science, right? So companies do look into that aspect. So if you have companies like Vodafone or Airtel, they will definitely have some inclination to people from either your com science or electronics or telecommunication when compared to people who are from your metallurgy or a chemical. So that to a small extent I would say matters. If I have to quantify it, I would say 10%. But otherwise, no. Companies don't really look into the fact that आपने किस field में engineering की है. What they do look into, of course, is कि from which college you have done your engineering. That is important. So from that perspective, I would say SPIT people do know about Sardar Patel, which is surprising. But लोगों को पता है. So It's not really an IT, of course, not a bit, but it's a decent level, and people have a fair bit of understanding. So that definitely helps. But yeah, coming back to your question, your field does not really matter, just 10% max.
Okay, great. Okay, so the next question is going to be a bit biased, but I know you guys are at great places, and I hope you are at a happy place in your life right now. But ऐसा कोई decision जो you might want to change कि मतलब ये कर लिया होता, ये चीज और explore कर ली होती, so it would have been better. ऐसा कोई भी decision, so if you would like to share it with us. Prakhar, you can start with you.
So I think for me it would probably be that I didn't really do any internship per se during my engineering. Like while we did have those 3 weeks or 1 month gaps, ideally I could have done a 1 month internship, but I preferred to chill during that times, So that is one decision. If I have to look back into, I would say probably I could have done that a bit more. Um, Rest, I would say another bit is that I did not really learn coding, is how I would put it. While of course for an MBA coding is not really important, but I feel in general, come 5 or 10 years down the line, some bit of coding or how things really work with respect to the backend, that understanding needs to be there. And this is for everyone, not just for we guys. It's all across. This is what I feel we are heading towards with tech driving everything. So had I probably learned coding a bit more, I could have had a better understanding as far as how things really work from the product side. So that I would say is one of my small regrets. But yeah, that is something which you guys can still work on. Not really expertise in it, but just get a basic or a fair bit of an understanding rather than being just away from it or detesting it.
Right. Urvi, any answer?
Yeah, I would say that because of the exploring stuff, I loved finance, but then after a time, I didn't like it that much. No, it just faded. So, had I realized that before my internship rather than during my internship, it would have been better. So, अगर इंटरेस्ट ढूंढा भी और मल्टीपल ढूंढे तो पहले ही फिगर आउट करो कि कौन सा एक ज्यादा पसंद आ रहा है.
Right, right. Shubham?
Okay, look, I don't remember specific thing as such, but yeah, so most of the opportunities, so most of the things that I have done or I'm able to showcase, so these were the opportunities that just crossed by me. Like I didn't try to aim for anything. So I think all my internship, I think during my engineering time, I had done 2 internships. So my first internship I got just because I had won during the first year only. In the second semester, I had won some codathon or something, I don't remember exactly. And I just got to get that internship opportunity. Again, my second internship, second and third year, both summers, I did not do anything. So as Prakat told, I could have done some internship during that time. But after that, again, after the seventh or some semester in the winter period, I just got a call from someone like, okay, there is an internship position available for you. Like, would you like to do so and so? Like, yeah. So I think the first step, the ability to take the first step. So that I think that was a missing thing from me. Like I should have done it earlier, but fortunately I ended up at a good place, so I'm happy still.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. So, as we discussed, ऐसा people usually want, ऐसा थोड़ा glam में लगता है कि doing MS from a foreign country and stuff. But apart from all that, what exactly is the difference between pursuing MBA or MS from a foreign university or and doing the same from an Indian college? What is the difference between the two?
Prakhar, we can go with you first.
Yeah, Thakur.
So how I would put it, since of course the question is slightly vague because for one to really answer that, one needs to experience both and then differentiate. But how I would put it is that for me, going into IIM Kozhikode was a very, very big step up in terms of first the academic expertise. Like the professors out there are just like former RBI people. If they are teaching you macroeconomics, they are that kind of people, right? So there is a certain level of respect which you need to have for the professor, which I think SPIT meant to a certain extent is not there. So that is one bit which is like completely different. So the expertise and the kind of people you really are engaging with. Second bit I would say is more on the lines of your peers. I think one learns maximum from their peers, is how I would put it, because you get to spend the maximum amount of time with them. Like post your classes, it's now up to you what you want to do, right? You can just either play FIFA or you can just study for your assignments which are going to be there for the next day. So I fortunately had like very good peers. Like my roommate was from IIT Bombay, CAT 100 percentile chemical engineer, right? So you are essentially dealing with those kind of people day in day out. So you get to learn a lot from them, and that was a very big step for me when compared to SPIT. Second bit, coming back to your question, how it's very different from a foreign B school. To a certain extent, I can answer that because I was a part of a student exchange program to France for a period of 3.5 months during my MBA. So while classes were minimal, the goal was to travel as much as possible. Yeah, but I did go to few classes. So the major difference is in terms of that is more on the course side, right? The course over there was pretty basic. When we went in, we already kind of knew half the stuff. But I'm sure if one has to really compare an IIM Kozhikode when compared to a Harvard or a Stanford, then obviously there would be some difference. But having said that, if anyone in the audience really plans to do an MBA from a foreign B school, then one needs to have at least 5 to 6 years of relevant work experience in India, because first of all they won't even look into your profile if you don't really have that experience. Second bit is you need to have experience in a relevant field. Matlab, you can't be a IT guy and then try to apply for finance roles or a Harvard or a Stanford, right? And the third bit is you need to work in MNCs, because while working for big Indian companies is great, we Indians obviously know these Indian companies. A Harvard or a Stanford won't know it. So if you're working for an Amazon or an AWS in India, then or a Deloitte as well, and if you're working for like 5 6 years over here, then you have a good advantage when applying for foreign B schools. Uh, but yeah, that is a completely different ball game altogether, because of course if you are really applying for a foreign B school, you can just really apply into consulting or finance. They won't really take you for sales and marketing because you don't really have an understanding of the market per se, right, with you being a foreign guy. So for that, of course, you need to build a stellar profile, and of course then the thinking comes back into the picture that whether you want to really stay in India or not. So that is a question which you need to answer, and then there are multiple professional or personal factors which get into the whole thinking. So yeah, that I would say fairly, I hope it answers your question in terms of foreign MBA or Indian MBA. What is the difference?
Yeah, Prakrit, just adding on, and this is a personal doubt. Like one friend of mine, he's in the third year right now. He's from VIT, and he's in the comms department. So he gave his GMAT right now, and he scored a 740 plus, and he got France. He got in Essex. I think the institute name is Essex. I think so. So he got there. So, but he didn't require a work ex because he's still in third year and he's doing MIM. I think so.
See, correct. So essentially, right. So which course is it? Which it is in
I mean,
France?
I think it's MIM. I'm not really sure what.
MIM, right? So MIM is different from an MBA per se. When I'm talking about an MBA, I'm talking about a 2 year flagship program for any of these B
Yeah,
schools.
yeah, yeah.
So if one really wants to apply for an HEC Paris or IESE in Madrid, right, or Barcelona, so or one is looking at Stanford, Harvard. So if one is looking into that field of B schools, right, so then I feel you require experience. So I would just add on to that, which is just a personal thing where I feel that if you really want to go to a B school, or if you really want to, be it in India or abroad, just go to the best ones, is how I would put it. So in India, just look into the top 15, right? So like for me, IIM Kozhikode is like at a 6 or a 7 in that ranking. So for me, that was a yes. But if it's anything beyond those 15 B schools, be it in India or abroad, then it's not worth doing, because see, these courses are very expensive, while we can say that someone's going to Paris or not, it's 60 70 lakhs. It's not easy. Okay, you are using a parent's money or you'll be taking a loan, and if you're spending that much, then you need to recoup that money, right? And that essentially means that you need to have a 100k euro job over there in Paris, right? So that thinking is very important, is how I would put it. So hence it only makes sense if you're going to the top B schools. And if one is really applying to the foreign ones, then I feel an experience of at least 4 to 5 years is required. from good MNCs in India. And see, the way I would put it is things you can wait for things. There is no real rush. Okay, if you are really looking into foreign B schools, then you can just work for 4 5 years here, and then go for a better B school. As in, why compromise? Is how I would put it.
Okay. Shubham, any thoughts? Like MS in India, I mean, giving MTech in India and MS in foreign.
Okay, so again, as I told you initially, the ROI was the main factor here. So finally, in terms of money, if you would see, so it is just like इंजीनियरिंग है 4 साल का कोर्स यू आर डूइंग इतना पैसा डाला फाइनली इतने का प्लेसमेंट निकलेगा so ये इनपुट है ये आउटपुट है so that is the final thing that is left in terms of money so and for the case of masters at least in India most of the colleges have a same placement for bachelor's degree as well as a master's degree so in terms of placement I would say SPIT is a really good college so yeah Urvi's batch you would have seen I think I'm not sure whether it has been put or not but the placement was pretty good. So in terms of that, I did not feel that again studying for 2 years and getting the same type of placement or package would be sufficient. So that's why I thought to pursue masters abroad.
Right. Okay. Okay. Come moving to the next question. So since we have a few people also in the crowd, और I know सब में experience क्या होता है फर्स्ट ईयर में कॉलेज में एक तो अगर 11th 12th इंटीग्रेटेड किया है या साइंस बैकग्राउंड है 11th 12th तो 11th 12th तो सिर्फ पढ़ने में निकल जाता है सो ये फर्स्ट ईयर होता है लाइक व्हेन वी कम एंड वी एक्सप्लोर कॉलेज क्या होता है कॉलेज लाइफ क्या होती है फर्स्ट टाइम देखने मिलता है तो दैट इज द टाइम वेयर वी वांट टू गो एवरीवेयर मतलब ये कमिटी इधर भी जाना है सब जगह जाना है सो व्हाट वर द मतलब इंटर्नशिप्स यू कुड से कि या इंटर्नशिप्स या और क्या ऐसे एक्सपीरियंसेस हमको फर्स्ट ईयर में गेन कर लेना चाहिए सो दैट इट्स हेल्पफुल फॉर द कमिंग इयर्स Urvi, you can start with this.
Okay, so in first year I'd say initially तो एक like अच्छा friend circle बनाओ थोड़ा first semester तो चिल ही मारो मतलब पढ़ाई करके GPA में चिल मारो because आगे का GPA नहीं आया तो फिर पीछे average करते लग जाते हैं so चिल मारो first semester तो at least second sem से from IT perspective I'd say कि थोड़ा competitive programming चालू करो okay as for committees I won't lie, मैंने join किए थे थोड़े. I feel a fool of myself right now after joining those. Didn't help at all. करना है थोड़ा तो रोड ट्रैक वगैरह या IEEE के कमिटीज वो थोड़े ऐसे चल सकते हैं और लाइक प्रोफाइल में दिखाना हो कि लाइक लीडरशिप किया है तो कोई इच्छा या अपना उधर एक अच्छा पोजीशन ले लो दिखाने के लिए हाँ और that's what I say for committees otherwise they don't help much. बट आई वुड डेफिनेटली से कि फेस्ट वगैरह में पार्ट लो फेस्ट के कमिटीज में पार्ट लो बिकॉज अलग सब सीखने मिलता है व्हेन लाइक अदर देन व्हाट यू डू इन लाइक थ्रू आउट योर स्टडिंग अलग करने मिलता है सो फेस्ट एट से इज वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग
Shubham?
Yeah, so we told like fest is like fest and like committees both are an optional thing to be honest. Like नहीं करके भी लोग को अच्छी जगह मिला है काफी करके भी ये हुआ है तो फिर it's completely optional but the good part is about joining it is like as you said like I for applying to internship right so the first thing that would come is resume so अभी just अभी 12th से निकले हो तुम लोग and you must be thinking like resume में डालूं क्या मैं so at that point this thing is somewhat useful I would not say like it would drastically affect your chances somewhere but it does show like active participation at least that's the least thing if not leadership at least active participation in something and next thing I would say is at least for your batch I don't think like you would be able to go to college you didn't go to college for that matter and जो भी like बात होता रहेगा तुम लोग का that would be like in within your branch only so in case you are joining some committees which are like spread throughout all the branches like IEEE or be it Rotaract so these committees you'll get to network with people who are having a different background so it will just increase your network like you'll get to see a different kind of people totally so this is the second benefit of joining some committees but it's not like a necessary thing to be done during your engineering life.
Prakhar, anything to add on?
Yeah, so I was a part of the ECEL actually. So be it in the second year, I was a part of the subcommittee. Third year, I was a part of the main committee. So how I would put it is that it's important, is how I would put it. to a certain extent. As rightly pointed out by Shubham, right? It shows in your CV at least, it shows intent that okay, हाँ भाई बंदा बंदी कुछ अलग कर रहा है. They're doing something different from what people normally do, right? Everyone's essentially attempting exams, but if you're doing something like this, it still stands out, right? And 4 years is a big time, is how I would put it. 4 years of engineering is a very big time. Although I personally feel it should be a 3 year course, but that is the time when you can actually do as many internships as possible, something which we didn't have, you guys have. So just take that opportunity. As far as college is concerned, just be a part of a committee, it definitely helps. It shows that you have taken a position of responsibility, because let's be honest, even when you start working, you won't be really given a position of responsibility. You'll be joining as a fresher or at an entry level job, irrespective of the company you're working for. So as such, you won't get a POR. But if you are really working for these committees and actually be able to show visible impact, it's a great learning experience. CV, of course, it matters, but as a learning experience, you learn a lot. And another point, it really helps in networking. So while my seniors, right, who were when I was a part of ECEL, I was in some connect with them. While now I'm not really in connect with them, but sometimes I can just randomly ping them and discuss what they are doing, right? And that networking definitely helps in future as well, just to learn more and if possible, try to leverage that. So I believe all in all, yes, one should try to apply for committees, but only in committees in which one is interested in. If you're not interested in technology at all, then applying for IEEE just to organize IVs, that does not make sense. But if you're interested, for example, in the MBA or the B school side, right, business side, so then applying for an ECEL definitely makes sense. So yeah, that is how I would put it.
Yeah, I'd also
Yeah.
like agree with Prakhar on this. Be a part of one committee. Don't try to go in all the
Correct.
committees and try everything out. And go to committees that you're really passionate about. Like if you really want to do social service, then go to Rotaract because that helps. And I have seen my friends who are very passionate about it and with good jobs because they're passionate about those things.
Correct.
So don't do it for the sake of doing it. Do it because you love it, and also you need to show those kinds of skills as well. Yeah.
And on joining committee, set your priorities straight. So you must be knowing like what things should come first, like be it your exam or anything. So have those priorities straight. And like so the benefit I think joining in the first year. So first year I was part of subcommittee of CSI. So during the first year, I think like most of the committees would like bring you just to do PR, nothing else. For most of the committees, I would say. So in that case, at least you take an effort to talk to the people from your class. During the same time, you'd also like try to contact the seniors immediately. So like initially, I think most of the people would be reluctant to talk to seniors, thinking like, okay, what if I ask some foolish question or anything? Like once you join a committee, like you are in the WhatsApp group, like you will talk something at least. So that way, there is a direct contact between you and your senior, be it like a 1 year senior or 2 year senior. So at least that part goes away, the reluctance to talk to people. Yeah, but yes, don't join a lot of committees just for the sake of showing it in your resume or anything.
Right, right. So just adding on to the question. So you guys said you all participated in committees and like extracurricular activities, fests, वगैरह. So first year तो it's ठीक है फिर भी it's fine. लेकिन second year से SPIT starts putting a lot of pressure. Like बहुत सारे exams हो जाते हैं. अभी भी I'm in the second year, so we are facing. We have a lot of exams going on. So how did you guys manage studies while having fun at the same time? Urvi?
Okay, I would say मैं तो generally पढ़ाई इतना नहीं करती थी. I used to just pay attention in the class and that's it. फिर exam के एक दिन दो दिन पहले पढ़ाई हो जाता था. That's it. So otherwise I didn't used to study on weekends or so. So then that time you can be a part of committee, do those kinds of stuff, and that's how you can manage. I don't know the rest of the folks.
Actually अभी आजकल का सीन थोड़ा चेंज हो गया since we all online हो गया है तो सब I mean this meeting is getting recorded so I won't say that but ये normally class में रहने जैसा सीन नहीं है अभी so
हाँ बोर होता है.
So we understand, like Urvi and I had that online semester file.
हाँ right yeah.
नहीं मैं बच गई मेरी internship थी.
Oh, I totally forgot about it. Like I did have that last few months of online college. But I do understand what you're trying to say. But at least I would say like have at least a rough idea like what's going on in the class. At least that minimal effort I think you can show, and I think final exams or any exam for that matter, 2 days is more than enough. Like I don't even think like we had to spend 2 days. Like one day would be sufficient.
Acha. Okay, so coming back to the question, Shubham, how would you manage time? I mean, like, while preparing for MS also, so how would you manage everything? The projects bhi honge and then all that stuff.
Okay, so I think being in second, I think second year was not that tough. Third year was the most, I would say, time-consuming task. So during the third year, like people who will be going for master will be preparing for their GRE, TOEFL, and everything. And at the same time, this is the only year I think you will be able to participate in hackathons and be able to at least showcase something. So during the second year, most of the people like you would be new to the technology and you'd not be able to implement something. So you just participate in hackathon just for the sake of participation, as you won't be able to showcase something. But during the third year, you have acquired enough skills to showcase. So third year, I think most of the people would be part in some other hackathon. Like I think you must be seeing your. I'm not sure about your seniors, but your super seniors at least. So at least they were like going to. Some people had like during that 1 year, but at least 5 6 hackathons. So this is the third year is the yeah I think it will be our batch and our juniors as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I
that third
agree.
year, yeah. If you think second year is hectic, third year would be much more than that.
In third year, you are part of lead committees. Then you're in the lead of the committees, as well as you have to do hackathons. अगर प्रोफाइल अच्छा बनाना है, फिर by that time third year में mini projects आना चालू हो जाते हैं, and nowadays college is pushing towards publishing the papers of what projects you do. So do that also at the same time. So I agree with Shubham, third year थोड़ा hectic हो जाएगा. And then from third year, if you're applying for jobs, then you have to start preparing for that also. In the not in the fifth semester per se, but from sixth definitely. So
Uh, yeah, Prakhar, like about you now. So MBA के लिए जो CAT की तैयारी करनी पड़ती है. So did you go to any classes, online classes को join किया, or you just self study से हो गया? And when exactly did you start preparing for the CAT exams?
Yeah, so I'll just come back to your previous question, which you had asked others, right? So, as in, do people get time to enjoy? So, I stay in Thane, okay. So, for me, going to Andheri is like a total of 3 hours of travel, okay. And in the first year, we didn't even have the metro, so that was like 3.5 hours, 4 hours, but then it became 3 hours. So, I was the opposite case of what Urvi is talking about, as in paying attention in class and then just studying one day before the exam. My case was more like not paying attention in class at all and still studying just 2 days before the exam. So, uh, yeah, so for me, that was the enjoyment time essentially during the classroom. Okay, because um, for me, I used to like travel so much. I, to a certain extent, beyond a time, was just going to college for the attendance, is how I would put it. Because we had that 75% ka thing, and if you don't really have that, then you need to go to Rao Sir's cabin. So that was not a pleasant experience. So for me, I used to just go for essentially the attendance. And yeah, I was someone who never really paid attention in class once I understood कि भाई engineering stream में कुछ करना नहीं है. So I used to chit chat around, discuss about football, read newspapers in class. So yeah, I was that kind of a student, and whenever possible, just play football on the ground. And of course, this was the second year, is how I would put it. Third year onwards, coming back to your question, ki what really started to kick in terms of the whole CAT preparation, etc. So I did take classes. So I used to go to CPLC classes. So I used to come to Thane and then go to the Thane station, which your classes hota tha for CPLC, and that used to be like pretty hectic, like 4 times a week. So by the time I used to come back home, it used to be around 9:30 or 10 o'clock, and I used to leave in the morning at around 7:30. So that period was pretty hectic for me, third year, because I was putting a lot of effort in just terms of my CAT preparation, etc. And also, of course, in third year, I was a part of ESL and all. So that activity also kicks in. So one needs to stay back sometimes post college hours. and I to a certain extent was trying to just manage my attendance, just barely pass that 75% ka thing. And it was during the classroom, I think, where I had the maximum enjoyment, in terms of just discussing stuff with my friends, playing football whenever possible. And overall, on a macro level, how I would put it to everyone is that, yeah, matlab, 4 years of engineering one should enjoy more, is how I would put it, right? Matlab, don't take things too seriously. I took things very seriously, is how I put it. Like for me, even that getting that extra CGPA. So while I did not really pay attention in class, I used to study for exams because obviously one needs to get a good CGPA, right? So but don't really take things too seriously, is how I would put it, because things really go become much more difficult as life goes on. Matlab in MBA, I was for first year I was just sleeping for 3 to 4 hours on a daily basis, because that was the level of activities which I had to undergo, in terms of just pure assignments, projects, etc. So, 4 years of engineering, just relax, and class, if you want to pay attention, don't pay. Matlab, it depends on you, but just enjoy things. And whenever even studying for your MBA, or studying for your GRE, just enjoy that process. Is how I would put it. So yeah.
Okay.
Like
Right.
just I would like to like show a comparison. So for GRE, I would say like 1 month or 2 months of preparation, like is typically what people do, but that is not the same case for CAT. Like people prepare for years for that matter.
Correct.
Yeah. So there's a lot of difference between GRE and the CAT exam. So just keep that
Correct.
in mind. Like if you feel like person is giving GRE, itna, he just told ki 2 months mein ho jayega. That is not the same thing with CAT. Like they have different exams overall, completely different. So just don't
Correct.
try to compare these two.
Yeah, so if I can just expand to that, right? So CAT exam ke liye what really is required is a good understanding of English, is how I would put it. So in my CAT first attempt, that didn't really go great. I did my first attempt in the fourth year of engineering. I just got 94 percentile. Realized it's not sufficient, and then next year I got 99.23. So the major difference was that I started reading stuff. So reading stuff. So I'm someone who did not really read your fiction books. I never read any book actually. I just read Harry Potter. That's about it. So for me, what I incorporated in my system was just reading articles every day. So just I post breakfast, I used to read 2 articles of the Hindu, 2 articles of the Economist. So what that really helped me is in terms of just my VARC and all of that English bit and my comprehending skills. And if you are able to comprehend things faster, then it definitely helps in other sections as well. So just be consistent is how I would put it. In terms of your doing 5 hours one day and doing 0 hours the next day and then doing 4 hours, that does not help. A better solution is to just do 2 hours every day of educate, just preparing for a CAT exam, and that definitely helps. So that consistency is very important. Whereas for GRE, I think a lot of my friends, so of course they got like 327, 330, etc. out of 340. They focused more on the coaching, whatever the coaching classes used to give them, in terms of just that preparation, and they did that Norman Lewis ka book, etc. as well. So that definitely helped them.
Yeah, I'd say the consistent, like inculcating this habit of consistent reading helps in GRE as well. So like I'm not sure like how many I've seen the GRE patterns. It's like as of now 170, 170. So like 170 is for quants, and usually I don't think SPIT people have problem in the quants. Like I think almost everyone scores more than 165. I think I'll keep the lower threshold as 165, but that would not be the case with the other. I don't even remember the name. It's related to English verbal section. Sorry. Yeah, so for verbal section, like for quants, you'll understand like this is my mistake. This is how I have to improve. Like so and so thing has to be noticed, but this is not the case with the verbal section. So like even after a lot of practice, like there would be a marginal improvement. So like suppose if one starts with quant and scores like 150 or something, 155 for that matter. Like after like 2 weeks of training, it will like 165. But that is not the case with verbal. For verbal, you just need to have that habit of trying to read and comprehending everything what's written in a timely manner. So I think like this habit of consistent reading would definitely help in GRE as well.
Yeah, great. Okay, so now like coming like the most sought after question, resume. So since you guys are from the three most different and the most sought after fields after engineering, so one by one, I would like all of you all to give us an overview कि मतलब अपनी ही job के हिसाब से क्या resume में होना चाहिए. Urvi, we can start with you.
For job, I would say for the technical rounds, resume doesn't matter much. They don't ask much about it. For non-technical rounds, it's generally a mix of tech plus non-tech. HR आजकल mix हो रहा है. So they ask you about your experiences, internships and stuff, what you did there, how they'll ask you about what problems you face and how you particularly solved them. So I would say a couple of internships is is a good to have thing in your resume. Then I would say the projects that you do in your final year and in your third year are crucial. Choose those topics wisely and dedicately work upon them rather than just doing it as a project. Those projects you can then you have topics to speak upon when it comes to interviews. Then you it's not them questioning; it's rather you telling what you've done. So projects are a good thing that you can speak about. Then I personally had a hackathon experience which was really amazing. So you can talk about those experiences with them. You can discuss about them and how you thought about solution in just 48 hours. So that you can talk about. That's really well. And then a couple of social experiences, maybe like social, like with road track and things. And I think nowadays colleges compulsory 30 hours of social work they ask you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So most companies also ask about that, social responsibilities and stuff. And finally, a leadership position, maybe in a committee or say in fest, would help. That was how my resume was, and it helped me with several interviews.
Okay. Shubham,
I
like
think
from
like
an
whatever I
MS
think,
perspective.
yeah, Urvi I think covered I think most of the points from that. Yeah, she told like the project thing. So for the interview as well, while discussing during the interview. So I'm not sure whether all companies does do this or not, but some companies do ask regarding your project, like what was the project about, how many people worked, who worked what thing. So these topics you have to be prepared for the resume. Other than this, specifically if I'm talking about the one that you have to apply during your masters, so your most of the colleges for masters are research oriented. So suppose if you're having some research paper published. So I think I was a pretty late. Like I published my first paper during my fourth year only, like just before applying for universities. So I still had two research papers for showcasing, but I think it would have been better if I had started a little bit earlier. Like other than this, you can also file a patent. Like so, this is something differentiating factor. I'm not sure whether that this really matters or not because I'm not in the admission committee or something. But yeah, this comes to the point where you can differentiate. So just try to make your resume as unique as possible. Try to like participate in hackathons or the codeship contests or whatever coding platform contests people have. You can tell like so and so ranking you have to obtain out of so and so participants. Even like I think we were asking talking about referrals, right? So like I've not worked in industry as such, but from the LinkedIn posts that I see regarding the referrals and everything, so people do try to see why should that person give you referral. So in that case, like you can tell exactly. So you can showcase how you are different and why the position that you're applying to, you are suitable for that. So just try to make your resume. And one more thing, depending on the positions, do change your resume. So this is an important fact. I think few of the people don't do this. Like, do have a generic template that covers most of the thing, and depending on the place that you're applying to, tweak the resume so as to cover whatever things they expect from you. So this is an important aspect while applying to any company or in any other organization.
Okay, Shubham, just adding on, what I have heard is ki, like when you're applying for foreign universities, they mostly they look for what extra curriculars you have done. Like they don't really pay a lot of attention on your marks as like it's just a pointer, but they also see ki, how are your social skills or maybe how you perform in extracurriculars as well. So is that really the case?
Yes, actually, this part is not covered in the resume per se, but it so while applying to universities, you also have to write a 1 page or 2 page, depending on the university, a statement of purpose. So that would cover everything. So the part that you mentioned regarding, it may be college committees, Rotaract, or anything for that matter. So these part is covered in the statement of purpose. So I think I'm not sure whether for MBA universities, I think some do require SOPs, but yeah, but this part is not included in the resume. It is part of the statement of purpose, where you have to mention everything like why did you have certain inclination, why specifically this university. So everything regarding, I think SOP is a completely new topic. Like we can spend another half an hour on the same thing.
Okay. Prakhar, like MBA oriented resume.
So as in you're asking if one really needs to apply for B school, what kind of a CV is required, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially the first bit is you need to have good grades, that is a very important aspect which is required. This is the Indian education system, so yeah, they look into your past grads. Second bit, something which I didn't really have is internships. So you guys have that opportunity, just capitalize on that. Try getting internships from good firms which people know about if possible, and that really helps because then you can highlight that मैंने ये किया and ये हुआ. Basically I did, this was my input over there, this was the outcome, right? So that helps you definitely in terms of just talking points. Second bit is so how I would put it is also is not just all of this, it's also your positions of responsibilities. So for me, ECell was important. So I could essentially highlight that how I was a part of the entrepreneurship cell at SPIT, and that really kind of helped me do this. But more importantly, how I would put it, right, with respect to first of all, what you need to have in your CV, and second, the interview. First bit is what you need to have in your CV is something which you're interested in. Just don't reverse calculate that, okay, if I need to be over here or there, I need to do all of this. See where all you are interested in, and then put efforts over there, because that I think has a better impact in the long run, and by that you won't be really exposed in your interview, is how I would put it. Because see, the people who are taking interviews are smart, they have seen kids like us from across the country. They will be able to identify whether a particular person just doing things for the sake of it or whether they're actually interested in. So that is one bit. Second bit is during my interviews, right? So CV is one aspect as far as getting in a B school admit is concerned, right? Apart from the CAT score, etc. The second aspect is also how your group discussion or how your interview goes. So it depends on you how you drive it. So for example, for me, while it did ask me certain engineering questions, that is a must, one needs to prepare for that. I kind of drive my interview towards my interest, right? So I am someone who's naturally inclined towards history and geography. So I somehow just made the whole conversation about international business, international trade, and I was able to link geography to that. So essentially, it's how you drive things rather than the interview asking you questions and you being exposed, you know. So hence, I would say, first of all, do things which you're interested in, because then you will be able to show your passion when you're talking about it during an interview, which is what matters. And second bit is drive the interview as per how you want to drive it and not how the interviewer wants to.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that was great. So, what would you recommend an engineer to develop as a prerequisite? So, like, this is placement ke liye, for getting into the IT sector, coding and CP and hackathons are important. So, for MBA or for masters, what skills does the engineer, require, and usko kya develop karna chahiye?
Correct. So for an MBA, it's essentially demonstrating that you have shown leadership and you have done things which have led to a good impact. So therefore, that's where your PORs really kick in. Okay. As in what all you have done in terms of committee and what all you have done in terms of just college fest. So we had a college fest in 2014. I was a part of the marketing team of that. So that was an experience I could talk about, right? So essentially, when you're talking about MBA, it's more in terms of आपने क्या किया and आपने क्या हिलाया. How have you got things done? Is how I would put it. So for you guys, internships definitely help. Try doing PORs in which you are interested in. So that is something which I would say is a requirement. Won't say a prerequisite, but I can say is something which you can take the interviewer along as far as your journey is concerned. And apart from that, of course, a pre-requirement is in terms of just your score, right? You can't even if you're not interested in engineering, you can't have a CGPA of 7.5 because you won't even be able to get a call then. So at least maintain a CGP of at least 8 or at least above 8.5 is how I would put it in your case. So these are the pre-requirements, nothing really else apart from this. In terms
Yeah,
of just your CV.
yeah, right. So,
Okay, and if we have to talk, so I'll just tell you like, so finally we will be submitting during the application process. There are certain documents to be submitted. So first is your transcripts, which would reflect your CGPA. Next would be 12, 10th or 12. I don't think ask like for MBA it's important, but I don't think it is important for masters here as they don't ask for it. Other than this, you have to put your resume, which would already include your positions of responsibility, internships, projects, hackathons, or whatever it is. Statement of purpose. So here you have to draft exactly why you are a suitable fit for this university in a gist. And during this, in this whatever limit of word limit that you have for the SOP for university, you have to jot down everything that you have done till date in that number of words. Other than this, you'll be requiring LORs as well. So at that time, I think so. Typically, what people do from SPIT is, uh, I think most of the people like who go immediately after colleges, they take two LOR is letter of recommendations. So this is given by your professors. So typically, what people do is like they take one LOR from the place of internship. So if it's a startup, it could be the director itself. If it's a big company, it could be the manager. So one LOR is typically from industry point of view, and two LORs are from academia. So this would include your professors. So for my case, I had two LORs. One was from Kalbande sir. So try to so you'll be taking LOR from only two people at most, I think. So depending on that, try to work accordingly. So in my case, fortunately, I had worked a lot with Kalbande sir. So during my third year, I was the technical head for ECEL. So that had the first initially the position of responsibility technical head corresponds at least gives an idea that so and so person was in the tech role in some committee. Additionally, this also comes under Kalbande sir, the entire ECEL thing. So during my LOR, I conducted multiple things like he was the project guide for my final project. Other than this, I had the TI competition that Urvi was mentioning about the people from EXTC do. So for that, I had a team with four EXTC people and me. So in that case, for that TI project, we had him as a guide. So I could that as well. I could add the ESL part as well. So for a single professor, I could add multiple things. Similarly, I had taken my second from Professor Natasha Raul. In that case, starting from secondary only, I was working under her research project. So I could add this 2.5 years or like 2 years of experience in my SOP as well, other than my resume. So in resume, you'll just state like whatever work you have done. But in SOP, you can frame the entire story, like what happened exactly, why this is your interest. Similarly, I was also the TA for the same thing. So try to find as specifically for masters, if possible. Like that was a fortunate case for me that everything just fall into these two professors only. But if possible, you can try to do multiple things under a professor so that in your letter of recommendation, everything can be added. And try to have good grades in their subject.
Okay. Great. So now, yeah, Shreya.
so yeah, thank you for that. So now I think we'll move on to the Q&A session. So oh, everyone, you can just switch on your mics and ask questions, or you can just put it in the chat box. So for now, we have one question from Nitisha. So what is the difference between ME in IT and MBA in IT? So software engineering or data analytics?
That's a pretty vast range of fields.
Uh,
Yeah, so regarding the MBA bit, I'll just quickly tell. So MBA in IT per se is basically when I talk about IT, right? So how it happens in an MBA is the first year is common in terms of subjects. It's only in the second year where you choose electives which you are interested in. So for me, it was marketing and strategy, but for a few people, it was more around the lines of IT and IT consulting and product management. So essentially, of course, I don't really know what happens in ME in IT. I have absolutely no idea. But in MBA in IT, there are courses like social media analytics, data R, right, or data and R, etc. Data analytics in R. So the idea is more around the business side of data, right? As in, okay, ये तो data है, but then what do you do with that data? So the courses are designed on those lines, like social media analytics, right? So if there is a banner ad, how many impressions are there, how many clicks are there, etc. What does that really mean? So that meaning of data is important, and that thinking. So I think courses are more around those lines. And also, people who take those courses are basically people who have 2 to 3 years of past experience in IT and post engineering. So those are the kind of people who take these courses because they want to build a career in product management and in IT, right? So yeah, that I would say fairly describes MBA in IT. I don't really know in detail, but yeah, this is what I have an understanding of in terms of a macro view.
Yeah, Shubham, about MS in IT. I mean, I don't really know what are the fields that you can do MS in. I know just about computer science.
I didn't get the question.
And like when you go for an MS, what are the different fields that you can choose from? Like, is IT an option there, or is it just computer science?
I specifically have not seen IT. I mean, there may so it totally depends on university. So typically, as I was from CS already, I like search for specifically masters in computer science. I think the computer science the default thing here. IT is completely different thing here. It's not the CS IT that we have in India, and it's not. And also, you can apply for specific specializations as well. So suppose during a third year or something, that you have to specialize in ML, so you can apply correspondingly. If I think that would be the question. So there is option like you can apply straightforward for plain masters like MS and CS. So you can just so in India, what do we have? Like we have set number of courses. Like in the first semester, you have to do these four courses. Second semester, these five courses. Third semester, these four courses. So after coming here, this is not the case. You are having a pool of, so for this semester, I had a pool of I think 10, 12 subjects. And then I have to choose what four subjects I want. So depending on the courses that you take, your specialization would be that course. And some universities do offer a specific specialization. So I think there are many colleges you can search by yourself. So they apply specifically like masters in CS in computer vision, masters in CS in artificial intelligence, and some colleges do have a special tracks. So it's a plain, as I told initially, like you can select number of subjects from the pool of subjects that they already have. So you can suppose you select these four courses or these five courses out of the 10 courses that you are taking throughout your masters, you would get a, minor in so and so or a proficiency in so and so. As of now, here we have, I think, proficiency or something in data science. So if you take these four courses, then your proficiency would be this. So depending on the university, you would have to research a lot for this actually. You would have to visit every university page or like go to a compilation like Yocket or different websites that already have the compiled details of everything. That would be a great start, I say.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah, I think we have another question from Ayush. So he asks, see, is there any edge of doing masters? Like masters करके what are the benefits? If you could just elaborate on that.
Okay, so if we are talking specifically in India only, so as I told, like final output we see in only in terms of placement. At least your parents would see final in terms of placement only, nothing else. Like they don't know what's happening throughout your entire life. And like no. So if you're specifically talking about doing masters in India, I don't think there is much difference. There could be like depending on the various universities, like they must be having some different placement or different completely altogether, or the package could be different for masters or bachelor student. But if you're talking about masters abroad, then uh, the lifestyle changes accordingly. The income changes. Like the amount of money that I can earn here would not be feasible for me at that moment in India. The corresponding expense also increases, but at the end of the day, the amount that I'll be saving will be more. So that is one point of view. But this is not the case necessary. This I'm talking in general. Like people do end with great placements from SPIT that I can say. Like you can be earning the same amount here as well.
Yeah, I'd like add on to Shubham's point that with SPIT the placements are really good because in like this year's Morgan Stanley batch there were many students along with us who had come from MS and are with us like, and we haven't done MS and yet we get bagging the same placements. So I say if you want to do MS then probably go to US and do it. Not US person but like whichever country that's leading at that point of time.
Okay, that's great. So I think we don't really have any audience questions because I think we covered everything. So the thank you so much all you guys for taking out time. I know मतलब अभी तो online है इसके लिए all this is possible thanks to technology right now. नहीं तो the schedule सबका इतना hectic होता है we don't get time. But nevertheless, thank you so much for attending, for giving us insights, and it was a really enlightening session for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.